We're going to start with the state of Chhattisgarh. In Chhattisgarh, the sample size is 16,270. 77% of the polling was done in rural areas, 23% in urban areas. That's a very big sample, and they've gone to every single assembly constituency. So it's not as if this is done only in some polls. They've gone to all the 90 seats. But Rajdeep, as I said earlier, let's just keep it real. We want to just temper the excitement, not hype this. India won 10 matches back-to-back. Everybody thought, okay, they're going to win the finals, kuch aur ho hi nahi sakta, and then there was heartbreaks. We don't want any heartbreak. We just want to say this is a very rigorous exercise, thoroughly researched, lots of field work. But guys, this is a post-poll study. It's not the real data. It could well be. There's a 94% track record. But as our chairman says often, when you've got a big stick, talk softly. Therefore, just keep expectations real.
I think the significance of the polls that Access My India does is they go constituency-wise. For the longest time, we would do random sampling. Now you go every constituency. So there's a greater chance of you getting it right because you've gone down to the micro level. And what has changed in India in elections, Rahul, is that, the wave doesn't go from across a state. Each region within a state also demonstrates definitive patterns. So I think that's why exit polls are so valuable. Someone asked me, why are you doing exit polls? We do exit polls because they are better than just predicting voter behavior based on your travels. This gives you some data to back up what you want to say. So I think it's extremely valuable.
Oh, it's because you learn more during an exit poll about what happened than you do in the real counting. The reason I say this is because you can't pick up how different genders voted, you don't pick up how different income groups voted, how different caste groups voted, because you get an aggregate figure during counting from the Election Commission. That's why you need to do polling to go down, understand what's happening in the castes, in the communities, in the groups. So it is just a few more seconds to go. And then we can start showing you the results. We'll start, as I said, from the 90 seats of Chhattisgarh. Rajdeep, just a few seconds.
By the time you walk from here to your plasma, we'll be ready with 5:30, which is the presumed time.
The Election Commission bold a googly. First, this was 6:30. Then they put out a corrigendum this morning saying that, oh no, it's not 6:30, it's 5:30. But you knew this for a long time, Mr. Election Commission. Why did you suddenly change your mind and throw all of us into a spin just in the morning? But hey, you have to go with the flow, and that's what we've done. So 5:30 it is, time for the first set of data. As I said, we will start with the battleground state of Chhattisgarh. Remember, in Chhattisgarh, 36 forts. No Congress government has been re-elected since Sheila Dikshit in 2008. So if Bhupesh Singh Baghel can lead the Congress to power again, it would be historic. Because especially in the Modi era, Congress governments have won only once. They tend to get voted out the next time. This would be historic if it does happen. I want to first show you what people said was the reason they voted the way they did. Why is it that they're voting? And that gives you a sense of how they are likely to vote. So what is it that drove voting behaviors? 20% said they voted for whichever party they were loyal supporters of. So that's 20%. Because of the MLA candidate came in next at 10%. Because of the development of the state came in at 10%. Because of the loan waivers for farmers came in at 10%. Because of PM Modi came in at 5%. Now this is a very big number because of all the people who voted the way they did. 5% said they voted the way they did because of Prime Minister Modi. Now who do they want as the next Chief Minister? Again, very interesting data set to pick up how people are likely to have voted. Who do they want as the next Chief Minister? Bhupesh Baghel, the incumbent Chief Minister, comes in at 31%. Raman Singh, who's not really from the state of Chhattisgarh, is seen, or at least the Congress tries to show him out to be an outsider, and was never really projected by the BJP. They had O.P. Chaudhary, Arun Saud. They created a new group of leaders who were propped up in this election. He still is the number one face at 21, whether he was projected or not. Anybody else from the BJP came in at 18. So that's the pack in terms of who people would like to be the next Chief Minister. Let's now come to the third point. Remember, elections were held here in two phases. Phase one was largely the Bastar region, which is the Naxal impacted region, 20 seats here, and then 70 seats happened later on the 17th. So on the 7th of November, you had 20 seats which went to the polls. Let's show you what happened in phase one. And remember, the theory in the Chhattisgarh region is whoever wins Bastar wins the state. That's really been the trend. So who wins Bastar wins the state. How does Bastar seem to have voted in these 20 seats? The Congress had 43% vote share, the BJP had 42% vote share, others had 14, which includes the Ajit Jogi party, or whatever is left over with his son Amit leading the party. The BSP now, very small presence, the increasing national diminution of the BSP. Another trend you will see, because they were a factor once even in Madhya Pradesh. So 43 plays 42. This is phase 1 Chhattisgarh. Let's now come to seats. Phase 1 seats, 20 seats, Chhattisgarh. The BJP in the lead in the first phase. 10 for the BJP, 9 for the Congress. A lot of these images created using generative AI, so a lot of technology at play as well in different ways. So some artificial intelligence in the visualization. The BJP leading on 10, the Congress on 9. So that's in phase 1. And Rajdeep, this theory that whoever wins Bastar typically tends to win the state of Chhattisgarh.
There were 12 seats in Bastar. The Congress won 11 out of the 12. Then one of the BJP, the winning candidate, was tragically killed by Maoists, and the Congress won it in a by-election. So they had swept Bastar effectively. In fact, they won 25 of the 29 tribal seats. Between Bastar and Sarguja, that's where the Congress dominated in 2018. So the first big number that you have put out is bad news for the Congress and good news for the BJP.
It's also a tight fight, 10 versus 9. That's a really close contest.
Yeah, but that's a huge drop for the Congress, because the Congress swept the region, so advantage BJP with these numbers.
Let's now come to the second phase in Chhattisgarh. Remember, 70 seats. The rest of Chhattisgarh went to polls, including the Raipur area, including the Sarguja area, which is where T.S. Singh Deo comes from. This is what the vote share looks like in these areas. 42 versus 41. Again, dead heat. Which is why I said this election is so exciting, because it is so close. 42 versus 41. And when the vote share is like this, you can read, cut, interpret the data in any which way you want, because that really is a very, very close election. Let's now see how Access My India is converting this vote share into seats. Here it is for the first time. 70 seats in phase 2 went to polls on the 17th of November. Access My India is predicting for India today that the Congress will pick up 36 of those seats, the BJP 31, the BSP 2, others 1. So a 5-seat lead for the Congress in phase 2. What does this translate to if the entire state of Chhattisgarh is to be looked at? So let's now look at how Chhattisgarh looks if you consider the entire state. Remember, these are the first set of data that we are putting out coming from the state of Chhattisgarh. I want to take you through the vote share numbers. Access My India predicts for India today that 42% of the voters of Chhattisgarh will vote for the Congress. In the state of Chhattisgarh, 41% for the BJP. That really is a very, very, very close election. And when the numbers are that tight, it basically means whether you are Bhupesh Baghel, who was in our newsroom just yesterday, or a Raman Singh, who still thinks he's the strongest BJP leader, and the data too shows that everybody will have their hearts in their mouth and the money in their pockets, because you really don't want to be betting on this one. This is what the seat share projection looks like. 41 for the BJP, 45 for the Congress. Remember, there are 90 total seats in the state of Chhattisgarh. 45 versus 41, but if it's that close, even the pollster honestly can't really say for sure, because it's 42% votes versus 41 votes. That is a very, very, very close election. Rajdeep, 45 versus 41, you're shaking your head furiously. You don't agree with our numbers?
I think what it shows, we have to go by the numbers. I think the most significant factor is not just how close the two parties are, but the others. The buzz in Chhattisgarh was when the BJP realized it was getting tight, they went and sponsored a lot of third-party candidates. If I was a Congress rebel, if I was gave Ajit Jogi's son a chopper to fly away and contest. So then what happens is the election gets tighter. I think what you have in all the states, and you're going to find it, anti-incumbency against sitting MLAs. Bhupesh Baghel tried to drop as many sitting MLAs as he possibly could. But remember, when you won such a big margin last time, it's not easy to drop on a wholesale basis. So he dropped about 20. I think that is one factor we're going to have to look at. Others are going to be critical. Whose votes are they taking? My sense from these initial numbers, others have damaged the Congress much more than they've damaged the BJP. Because very selectively, the BJP chose the places where they would put up candidates who could be rebels and independents. But yes, your first big numbers show we could be heading for a hung assembly. Because you have 90 seats, your party number one is at 45, they come a couple of seats down, you've got a hung assembly. And that's why in Raipur, which is also a place where there's a great Satta Bazaar that goes on, a lot of people said, boss, asli chunav 3 tarikh ke baad hoga. What you've seen in 2018, the Congress had enough of a buffer that they could resist any attempt at Operation Lotus. Now the lotuses will be blooming in Chhattisgarh with these numbers. Because unless Bhupesh Baghel is at 50 plus, Rahul, he will find it very difficult, almost unsustainable, to be able to hold on to his flock. So I think these are fascinating numbers.
Hung means BJP. When has it happened that hung has meant anything else?
No, but see, I'll tell you why.
Well, Ashok Gehlot last time was able to...
Hung means central agencies, hung means role of governor, hung means a lot of horse trading also.
No, but that's too simplistic. And the reason I say that is look at the range. So don't go by the middle number in that range. Look at the full range. Bhupesh Baghel could end up close to 50 on the higher end of the range. So it starts from 40, it goes up to 50. The BJP starts at 36, goes up to 46. So a pollster envisions scenarios where the BJP could end up just ahead of the finishing line. And that there's also a scenario where the Congress could be reasonably comfortable. But I think what Rajdeep is saying is absolutely correct. If it's a hung house, then it's advantage BJP. They'll find some dam, dand, bhed, jugad of getting through, and they've done that in multiple elections.
So the first reactions to your Chhattisgarh numbers, Rahul, is that Bhupesh Baghel, who looked comfortable 6 months ago, you asked anyone in Chhattisgarh who's winning, they'd say Mr. Baghel. He seemed to dominate the landscape. The BJP has made a comeback. The BJP has clawed its way back into the contest. And I think the clawing back started in the tribal belt. In the tribal belt, there has been a sense that many of the promises that the Congress government made were not fulfilled. On the other hand, the plains of Chhattisgarh are traditionally areas where the BJP has done well. I get a sense, Rahul Verma, looking at these numbers, that Chhattisgarh, frankly, could go either way. Even if you look at the range, the BJP is at the upper end, at the halfway mark. This could be a fascinating cliffhanger election in Chhattisgarh.
So true. First point, I think you are right. 6 months ago, this election looked different. BJP has clawed back. Second, others' number have stayed the same. Comparison to the past, it's basically BJP that's gaining. And BJP's gain is largely coming among the OBCs and then the scheduled tribes. So OBC is where BJP is making double digits gain. So Congress, in comparison to past, is losing around 6 to 7% of votes, and BJP is picking up all that vote. And it's the middle segments where BJP is picking up all the votes.
There is one poll where there is one party which is winning in an absolutely convincing fashion. The Chhattisgarh numbers are very tight. You have to be a betting man to say for sure. But there is one where the data is speaking loud and it is speaking clear. That is on which network and which channel is being watched at this moment. Our producers just sent us information that India Today's viewership, live concurrents on digital and social, are 50 times that of our closest competitor. I mean, 2x, 3x, Rajdeep is understandable. 50 times the closest competitor. When it was sent to me the first time, I said, please check, are you sure? They went back, they added up the numbers again. The India Today network at this time is 50 times. That's bigger than the BJP won in 2019.
Where hopefully those numbers will keep growing. But just
50 times se badi lead chahiye aapko.
I want to give you the micro data where this election has changed. And this was told to me again on the ground. The BJP, about a month before the election, realized women voters have to be targeted. And they announced a scheme, the Mata Devi Vandana scheme, under which you can get 12,000 rupees per woman will get that, will get 12,000 per annum. And look at what your numbers are showing. The BJP has gone up from 34% in 2018 to 43% among women. This election, I told this to Preeti earlier, the Mahila voter boss, forget all this Hindu-Muslim vote bank. There is only one vote bank at the moment that counts. So it's the Mahila vote bank, and the BJP has scored there.
No, but in Chhattisgarh, for the Congress, it's also the farm loan waiver.
Yes, but
in 2018, they gave it because they won the election on that. This time around,
you know what the BJP did? They also announced a farm loan waiver, which forced... 1 minute.
Yeah,
it forced Mr. Baghel to say, no, I'll give you another farm loan waiver. So you see, you've got to see, it's competitive politics. Your farm loan waiver versus mine. The moment the BJP announced 12,000 rupees to women, so did Bhupesh Baghel. Competitive populism. I'm only looking at the numbers. You may well be right. This is a very tough race. If I have any explanation for why this race has become tight, Rahul, it is the tribal vote has slightly shifted away from the Congress towards the BJP, and the woman voter has shifted 9%. That's a huge swing compared to 2018.
You know, remember I told you a short while ago about this one tweet which was going viral. It apparently was from one supposedly big news network which was quoting our data to say that this is what our data for Madhya Pradesh was. They've now issued a public apology saying that the data is bogus, it's fake, and that it shouldn't be believed. I mean, just quoting our data on another network even before we put it out, that's just bad taste, okay? That's bad form, that's bad taste. They've apologized. We'll put an end to it. Let's show you the gender-wise breakup for Chhattisgarh. And this is absolutely correct. In every state that goes to the polls, the women voter is becoming more and more important. Unlike in the past where women, especially in rural areas, tended to vote along with whatever was suggested by the male head of the house. Now we're seeing women showing greater agency at the hustings, deciding for themselves who and why they want to vote a particular way. Read this data very carefully. Amongst the men, the Congress's vote share has gone up from 42 to 43. Amongst the women, the Congress's vote share has come down from 44 to 41. That's a big loss of 3. And why this election is so exciting, and that's what Amit Shah and the BJP strategists are hoping for. Amongst women, the BJP has been able to increase its vote share by a whopping 9%. A 9% shift from the lows of 2018 isn't easy to engineer. A 9% shift in favor of the BJP amongst women voters. Amongst the men voters of Chhattisgarh, the BJP has increased its vote share by 39. Remember, if you see the electoral history of the state of Chhattisgarh, apart from 2018, go back to 2013 or go back to 2008, Chhattisgarh saw very close contests, Rajdeep, where the victor and the vanquished was decided by 1% to 2% of the vote share. It's only in the last election where the Congress had a very big lead. This is a reversion to the mean. This is how Chhattisgarh typically tends to vote. It's a very tight fight.
You know what you had 3 elections in Chhattisgarh where the BJP dominated in a way. While in vote share there was tight, the BJP was relatively comfortable in terms of seats. In 2018, it all changed. It was a wave election. Bhupesh Baghel and the Congress promised MSP for paddy of 2,500 rupees. They promised a waiver of electricity. And the farmers, as Preeti was pointing out, voted in large numbers for the Congress. What's happened since then is that in the last few years, there has been a measure of farmer distress in some parts. There are promises that were made to the tribal community which were not kept. Bhupesh Baghel has put in a lot of cash. If he's still in the race, it's because some of his welfare schemes are working. There is no doubt about it. Some of the delivery of his welfare schemes, especially to farmers, have had positive results. But remember, this is a state where the BJP only lost once since the formation of the state, which was in 2018. So I get a sense that the BJP is clawing its way back into Chhattisgarh. Remember, even Lok Sabha, they swept with 58% of the vote. Mr. Modi is a highly popular figure also in a state like Chhattisgarh. All of this meant that the Congress has not been able to arrest anti-incumbency, particularly against its MLAs, who are seen to be very corrupt. Corruption has damaged the Congress in Chhattisgarh.
It also shows how the BJP fought a valiant campaign. Remember, Chhattisgarh was an election for the Congress to win. Bhupesh Baghel, in the Mood of the Nation opinion poll that India Today came out with, was seen as being one of the most popular, effective chief ministers across all chief ministers in the country. From there, the BJP tactically, strategically fought a very sharp campaign, and the Congress made several mistakes. Otherwise, the Congress still is in front, but this shouldn't have been as tight as it has become.
Are you surprised, Rashid, with these numbers? You know this state very well.
Precisely. I think, Rajdeep, it's still very early to say. But I think if corruption was an issue, then the Congress would have been a big loser, not this kind of close race of Congress getting an edge. I think the BJP has to revisit its own strategy, but not projecting a face either of Raman Singh or Vijay Baghel or any other contender, because Mr. Baghel seems to be having an edge because he is a very strong, powerful regional leader.
Also, don't forget, last time they were fully united because Baghel, T.S. Singhdeo were all on the same side. And Sarguja, they swept all 14 seats, which is the bastion of T.S. Singhdeo, or Baba as he's called. Now what you had is T.S. Singhdeo has been seething without expressing himself angrily at being passed over for chief ministership. And there was a sense, and we'll see those numbers when they come, in the Sarguja belt, did dissension hurt the Congress? All of this, of course, doesn't mean the Congress is losing Chhattisgarh. Yeah. The Congress is still ahead of the BJP in these numbers. So, for all the might that the BJP has put in, Rahul, as per your numbers, the Congress is closer to the halfway mark than the BJP is.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But the Congress should have been, by their own estimate, 50 plus. 60 plus. Bhupesh Baghel was not willing to talk about anything less than 60 plus. So, from there, the BJP has made it a far more exciting election.
Rahul, are you surprised?
Little bit, but I would say, see, if you also break the elections in two phases, the first phase where BJP basically climbs up, right? And I think by the time they realized that they can actually give a fight, it was too late. Otherwise, they could have made a really, really good fight in Chhattisgarh. What we were thinking 6 months ago, if BJP had realized that at that time, it could have been changed this
Chetan, where does this come from? You believe that whenever there's a close fight, the BJP wins. Is this a perception? There are a few close fights that the Congress has also won. Madhya Pradesh last time was an example, to some extent, Rajasthan in 2018. But is there this perception that when it's a close fight, yaar aayega to Modi hi?
Because they do have a lot more
resources,
options, more bargaining chips to play with. I'm not going to talk about the ethics or non-ethics, but they have more to offer, more to take away. I think that's definitely there. I think one more observation here is that the India alliance, whether it's important for the Congress or not, there seems to be 11% others vote share. They're not winning many seats, but they're taking 11%.
Part of it is the JCC, because you had...
So, I mean, if the Congress on its own versus if the Congress can get into a better alliances, it would not be this situation. I mean, the Lok Sabha lessons are also here. I know this is...
to tango.
Yeah, so I think...
In fact, our poll is showing, and maybe Preeti, you're right, then you want to come in on that. The poll actually says that the farm loan waiver, once the Congress brought in, the BJP announced it, the Congress realized it has to go back to farm loan waiver, announces it on November 5th, and there is a sense, as per our exit poll, that the BJP, that the Congress was able to get back some of their farmer vote. You get a sense that the farmer vote is as important there as the woman vote.
I think it's very, very important. And why I say that is in 2018, if the Congress came to power at the back of what many analyzed as the farm loan waiver, I think this time around, and why I say that, Rajdeep, I saw it echo in Madhya Pradesh, where people were talking about the farm loan waiver in the state of Chhattisgarh. And I think he needed to give it because back to back in 2018, if you've given it, why would you give it this year? He understood that he needed to give the farm loan waiver if he needed even to stack up the kind of numbers that Rahul has taken us through.
There's some very interesting detailing in the age-wise breakup for Chhattisgarh. And listen to me carefully as I explain this to you. The younger you are, the higher the chances that you voted for the BJP in Chhattisgarh. And the older you are, the higher the chance that you voted for the Congress. And you don't see such a clear trend in state elections usually. It's often a mixed bag. You don't really see as clear a distinction as you're just about to see. Younger voters rooting very strongly for the BJP, older voters sticking with the Congress much more so. So see this, and this kind of a curve you will very rarely see. So if you start looking at the young voters, 44% of those who are between the age of 18 and 25 said they voted for the BJP versus only 37% saying they voted for the Congress. So 44% versus 37% amongst the really young voters. From there, if you come to those who are above 61, 46% of those said they voted for the Congress, only 39% saying they voted for the BJP. So it really goes from 37%, 18 to 25 voters voting for the Congress, then 41% for those amongst 26 and 35. It keeps increasing. So the older you are, the more you voted for the Congress. The younger you are, the more you voted for the BJP. And this kind of polarity, if you break this up by age groups, Rahul, as clear and distinct, you don't typically get to see.
This should be a big concern for the Congress because they have the younger leader, for one thing. They have the younger... Like Rahul, like at the national level, relatively.
No, but this is about Baghel, not about Rahul.
No, I know, but I'm saying if this... I know it is about Baghel, but at the same time we are doing age demographics, and if generally, if one would imagine with the whole Bharat Jodo Yatra and all those things, the fact that, look at the difference, it's plus 12 and minus 4. So, I mean, that is...
You don't see such sharp polarity usually.
The Bharat Jodo Yatra never passed.
No, I know, but the
BJP
perception
usually
that...
has
But
higher
the
numbers in
latest
Agra.
voter...
Maybe we'd like to see the numbers in the Rajasthan, because that's where it passed.
Look at how the BJP changes the narrative. In 2023 May, one of the reasons they lost Karnataka was 500 rupees gas cylinder. LPG हम 500 rupees देंगे. The BJP quickly announced for Chhattisgarh हम यहाँ भी 500 रुपए देंगे. So you see the ability to course correct, and in all states they've done that. Some they said 450. They said I'll give it. But so you realized in May. No, 1 minute. You realized in May that it's cost you an election. You decide to change. What else did the BJP do? The Sahu community. The OBCs, which Rahul Gandhi, since Rahul Gandhi was mentioned, is being wooed through caste census. The BJP said, "Hum sabse zyada seatein is baar Sahu community ko denge." Now that is a big vote bank. It is about 14% of the population. So what happens is at the micro level, when elections are fought, these factors matter, Rahul. So I think if Chhattisgarh becomes as close as it is, then the BJP's micromanagement has helped it. The Congress 6 months ago looked in pole position. Remember also the Mahadev app scandal coming up, and the BJP typically amplified it a few days later. So in urban pockets, corruption could be an issue. Deputy Secretary of the Chief Minister is arrested and still in jail, denied bail in a multi-crore scam. All of this somewhere, Bhupesh Baghel looks like the strong man. But in the last few months, you've sensed that the BJP has managed to puncture the balloon a bit.
It's
we have just a few minutes to go.
Sorry, Rahul, just one thing. I mean, even here, let's not forget, Congress is still having the edge, even by your polls. Yeah. And I know other channel polls we are not supposed to quote, but almost all of them are giving Congress.
Sure, but I have come back.
I'm just saying, we are like celebrating.
Sir, I have come back from a 3-4. In 2018, I won 3/4. I
Okay,
am now
but you just need
barely
to win
coming
50.
about the halfway mark.
You
That's
just
all.
need to win 50.
No, but Rahul made a very interesting point. Rahul said not a single chief minister apart from Sheila Dikshit of the Congress has been repeated again.
So Mukul Sangma, Tarun Gogoi, Mukul Sangma.
Since he said since 2013.
Tarun Gogoi went back. No, one second.
Since 2013.
Can I explain?
Since the rise of Modi.
Sheila Dikshit got re-elected in 2008. Tarun Gogoi got re-elected in 2013. After that, in the Modi era, there hasn't been a case where a Congress chief minister has got re-elected. So if Bhupesh Baghel is able to win on Sunday, that would be historic.
So
the Congress hasn't been able to do it in the Modi era.
Yeah, he's not getting 75, but if he still gets 50% of the seats, that you're telling me is still a very
distinction mili pass ho gaya. You're saying that. Pass hona on a tough pitches. So now let's look at
the worry will be, as the Raipur Satta Bazaar says, the election will then start after the 3rd, because then those 5 or 6 independents and smaller parties
Rajdeep, that can happen after 15
months. Okay, so
also.
who do voters in Chhattisgarh want as the next chief minister? That's the question that we posed. This is the response that we got. 31% wanting Bhupesh Baghel to be the next chief minister, 21% wanting former chief minister Raman Singh, who's the longest serving chief minister of the state of Chhattisgarh, and anybody from the BJP was 18, anybody from the Congress was 9. T.S. Singh Dio at 2, Bhupesh Baghel at 31.